now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. It's politics today at the top of the hour as interim national chairman of the African Democratic Congress, Senator David Mark, in a statement on Tuesday, said the new coalition had no favorite presidential candidate amid reports that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi, former Minister of Transport Rotimi Amechi, amongst others, were frontrunners for the party's ticket for the 2027 election. In the statement released by his media team on Tuesday in Abuja, Mark emphasized that all party members were equal stakeholders. What this means is that there is no zoning, which opens up the floor for Atiku against the principle of zoning. Already there's a national consensus that power should rotate every 8 years between the North and the South. However, Atiku has always run against it. When former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan tried a similar move, he lost to former President Muhammadu Buhari. Same goes for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar in 2023 when he ran against President Bola Tinubu. Now, with ADC's new stance on throwing it open, can they change the formula and break the yoke, or does that give advantage to President Tinubu in 2027? Also, for members of the coalition like Peter Obi, if the ticket goes to Atiku, would Obi stay back or retrace his steps and compete under the Labour Party, where he is still a member? ADC's 2023 presidential candidate Dumebi Kachiku has also accused the Mark-led interim leadership of the party of being biased in favor of Atiku, with growing concerns that the ambitions of the three contenders could divide the party. Well, we remain with politics as the People's Democratic Party, PDP, yesterday issued a stern warning to members involved in anti-party activities, declaring zero tolerance for disloyalty ahead of the upcoming Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections. The warning was delivered during a certificate presentation ceremony held at the PDP FCT Secretariat, where candidates for the local council polls received their official nominations. Speaking on behalf of the PDP National Chairman Umar Damagum, the party's North Central Vice Chairman Abdul Rahman Mohammed outlined the consequences of party disloyalty. Damagum added that any member found engaging in double standards or collaborating with other parties would face disciplinary action. On preparations for the elections, Damagum assured the people that PDP would protect its votes. And we round up with economics as the Naira appears to be breaking away from the price of oil, the nation's main foreign exchange earner, a mark of growing confidence in the nation's economy. This was as the Naira gained marginally on the parallel market yesterday to close at 1,540 to a dollar, stronger than the 1,560 Naira to a dollar it closed the previous day. On the other hand, the nation's currency, however, depreciated marginally to close yesterday at 1,530 Naira and 50 kobo to a dollar on the official Nigerian foreign exchange market, NFM, compared with the 1,528 to a dollar it closed the previous day. President Bola Tinubu's currency reforms have marked one of the most significant shifts in Nigeria's economic policy in recent years. Upon taking office, President Tinubu moved quickly to unify the country's multiple exchange rates, effectively dismantling the long-standing system of parallel currency markets. According to a report by Bloomberg, the bold step was aimed at creating transparency, improve investor confidence, and curb the arbitrage that had distorted the foreign exchange landscape for years. Of course, we did see that reportage from Bloomberg that was released yesterday, doing an analysis and commentary on the trends around global oil prices and how they've correlated with the Naira's value.
The interesting thing is that this government would adopt this report because it favors them. But when the IMF writes their own reports that the offshoot of all of this devaluation on the currency has also affected people, brought about untold inflation, brought about untold economic encumbrances to the lives of the people, they will batter and dismiss the IMF report. But when the IMF report writes something in favor of them, they would accept it in general. The truth has to be said. The devaluation has hurt the lives and the prospects of people. One thing we are not also putting into cognizance is the fact that even when crude oil prices went up recently, all right, our budget, it didn't still make any dent as regards the budget projections. So we have a country where, based on the projection of crude oil prices, our budget falls short as we speak today. And that's why we're not even doing projects. We can't even get projects done. So celebrating the wins about the fact that the Naira does well on the market What about other times where crude oil prices, were depressed and the Naira had to be defended to come down around the mid-year levels? So these are the questions we should ask. So I think it's very premature for Bloomberg to write this up at this point in time. Because there were times, too, that the Naira did go overboard, that this CBN had to also defend it and bring it back in this system. The cardinal point is the main street conversation here is this has affected the lives of people, the devaluation. And you're seeing the pass-through effect in inflation. These are the same people that they said the Naira was going to find a fair value around, less than the 1,000 mark. And if you also read the report further, some analysts are saying that the Naira is still grossly undervalued. So even at this rate, it's not to see the true value of Naira. So what's the true value of the Naira? And how can we get to the true value of the Naira with this so-called convergence the CBN has been on since they made this devaluation a couple of years ago? I think these are the conversations we should ask. Let's not devolve this for the pain the lives of people are facing. Please. As regards coalition, as regards PDP, when PDP say they're going to discipline errand members, I don't believe what the PDP can't discipline itself. The PDP is a dog that can bark. It's a party in comatose. All the members of the party that did anti-party activities in the last elections, like, what did they do to them? Yeah, they suspended somebody, suspension of hold water. The main dramatic person, can they suspend the person? The PDP can sort itself out. I don't even like talking about them too much. It's a party that is dead already on its way out. I'm sorry. As regards ADC, I must have to say some very harsh words this morning. This coalition, some people's ambition in this coalition will be the albatross of this coalition, and they're going to self-implode soon if care is not taken. See, I have always favored a southern presidency at a time like this because we believe that power, I believe, these are my convictions, that power should rotate between the north and the south. Although, if you ask me what my real convictions are, my real convictions are should be a Nigeria where competence is the order of the day, that we don't even have to care where you are from, as long as you can get the job done. But based on the reality of today, I will favor there should be a rotation. And we've always done that, so that some parts will not feel left out. But this idea that a lot of people are pushing, that, President Tinubu is Southern candidate, served 4 years. The other 4 years, they now want to push another candidate in, will kill this political party, this ADC they are cobbling together. Because the zeitgeist of the nation is at least the South should complete its 8-year term and the power can go back to the North. So if you want to breach that, and I've been seeing some of them have been making the same argument they made in favor of Atiku in the last election, that, what about the fact that Jonathan used the term of the North? But the counter-argument is, nobody objected when power went back to the North and Buhari beat Jonathan. So if you are making the argument now that, a northern candidate is to bridge the gap, then it might just be the beginning of the end of the coalition. Because arguments that people like Wike also, and that's why sometimes, when you criticize Wike, you might not criticize him totally. Because the argument people also, like Wike also make in the PDP was that it was the time for the South, and they felt that it was supposed to be zoned to the South, but another candidate came and they said, open primaries, and another candidate took it, and he took it away from them, and he feels disgruntled. So this idea, when it's supposed to be the turn of the South, and it's sad. I feel stupid talking about that we're sharing North and South rather than talking about competence, but that's the way Nigeria has become over the years. Because I will favor competence any day. So these arguments that, the North can come in and take it when the power is supposed to be, is a recipe for President Tinubu having a resounding victory in the next election. Because the zeitgeist of the nation is power for business. And also these arguments that they make, that is only Atiku Abubakar that can beat President Tinubu in an election. Can we test the argument empirically? Because I was not a child in 2019. They made the argument in 2019. It's only Atiku that can beat Buhari in an election. What happened to the argument? They made the argument in this last election. It's only Atiku that can face and beat Tinubu in an election. What happened to that argument? For people should test their might out in the playing field. Because if they do this, and that's why a lot of people are saying some people are favoring Atiku and all of that, anyway, David Mark has, but if they do this, what it will result is that people like the Mobi and some other people will go and run on other political parties, and they will split vote like they did in the last election, and President Tinubu will enter cleanly. I yield the floor.
Okay, what are the basic editorial points that should be made? One, the government is saying, oh, they're chest beating, saying, oh, the Naira is doing very well now. Yes, on the surface of it, the Naira will seem to be doing well. Number one, the Dangote refinery, which is output and what it's doing in that space, is helping to stabilize the foreign exchange, which was one of the promises made by the Dangote group. Two, diaspora remittances have gone up. So you have more dollar, coming into the system, more money coming from the diaspora, which in any case follows a pattern. It's cyclical. It's a trend. After they come home December, then they go back and work, they save more money, they remit more money to Nigeria. The CBN has also introduced a number of policies. We are now told that your MasterCard, your Visa card, you can now withdraw dollar from it, because what it means is that, the Forex market is not under pressure at this moment. And we have seen that in the market in terms of, the dollar exchange going down to maybe between 1,500 and maybe 1,400. As of yesterday, it will appear. However, while it is important that, the analysts are saying, oh, the Naira is doing very well, the Naira is doing very well, we should return to the original argument. Many years ago, when I was chairman editorial board of The Guardian, two persons at that time, I recall, Mr. Adaigofua Ojomaikre and Mr. Henry Boyo, who was with Vanguard, using the nickname Les Leber. They wrote articles about how to save the Naira and how to bridge arbitrage, the gap within the Forex exchange market. But one point that they brought up at that time was about productivity. I think that the celebration, whether it's Bloomberg or whoever, the thing is about productivity. And I think Nigeria needs to move very quickly to emphasize, what this President Tinubu, I think, the other day called the Nigeria First policy. To say, buy Nigeria, produce in Nigeria, and buy Nigeria. That way, you have a stronger basis to strengthen the Naira. What this means, therefore, that whatever Bloomberg may have reported, that the Nigerian authorities may be celebrating, is about sustainability. Let it not be a one-off thing. They can say, oh, okay, the Naira is very strong now against the dollar. And then in 1 month's time, it will be a tale of agony and woes. The solution to it is productivity, is ensuring local production and buying local production. And now it's not an original view. That's why I've quoted Adaigofua Ojomaikre and Mr. Henry Boyo from what I read way back. Now, Ambassador Damagum, the chairman of the People's Democratic Party, I think it's very instructive that he's talking about disciplinary action against persons who betray the party. On this table, the only subject we've been talking about is that parties should respect their own constitutions, and that where members of the party go out of the line, the party should respect its own constitution. Isn't the big problem with PDP the fact that the party has refused to enforce its own constitution to an extent where indiscipline has become the definitive character of the party? Now, we have had persons ahead of the 2023 elections who worked against the party, 2023. Now this is 2025. Those persons have not been disciplined. Now PDP is faced with a situation whereby persons who are within the party are saying, in fact, they too will follow an established example. Since the party has advertised itself as a party that is lawless and that does not respect its own rule of law, they will stay 100% in the PDP, they will stay 100% in ADC, just to prove that there is no monopoly of madness. And then all of a sudden, the chairman wakes up and says there will be the disciplinary action. Which disciplinary action? Disciplinary action that nobody remembered after the 2023, before and after the 2023 election. Who are the people that are going to discipline now? This is what many do not understand about the PDP. However, this is not to justify the fact that some people are saying, okay, this party has supported what is wrong. We too we are going to do what is wrong. That is not a show of maturity. It is a show of immaturity. Because you can't justify one wrong with another wrong. If anybody is in doubt, go and check. Some of the members of the PDP now that are in ADC, they also say, we will not leave PDP. We will stay there 100%. We will stay in ADC 100%. I think within the political party system, you don't have a right to be in two political parties at the same time. Very briefly, on Senator David Mark cautioning on the issue of North and South. I think it's a sign of the underdeveloped nature of Nigerian politics that we're talking about North and South, North and South. The simple point to make here is that rotational presidency is just a convenient handmaiden that the political parties and the general public, the commentariat, agreed to. There's nowhere in the Nigerian Constitution that says that there should be rotation between North and South. In fact, it was actually the PDP that first adopted it. I think, and I stress this, I underline it, that in this country, we should get to a stage, if we want to build a nation, whereby only the best and the brightest, the most accomplished, the most competent, by whatever yardstick, is a person that is qualified to run Nigeria. Look, we have even argued before now that this whole talk about federal character and all that there should be a sunset clause on federal character. Other countries are run by their best. This whole idea of rotation, North and South, North and South. So if you have a thoroughly stupid person from a part of the country, you say because you are rotating, he's entitled. We have an entitlement mentality in this country. And that's why many of the competent people are running away from politics. They are running away from leadership. There are people who sit in their homes, they listen to those who are leading there, they say, how can this kind of idiot get to this position and I am here? But the system locks out those people with all these geographical permutations, regional permutations, and all of that. Can we just run a country where the competent people, the best and the brightest, are the ones who are there, and we don't just structurally shut out people who have ability? And that's why in Nigeria, the common refrain is that politics is a dirty game. And because it's a dirty game, it's meant for division, what division did Rufai say?
10th, 11th.
Rufai said they are division 10, 11. I would have even said division 2. So you see now, 10, 11.
Yes, no.
That's where they are.
No.
So how do you run a serious-minded country at that level? When people who run Japan, who run the UK, are people who have been properly trained. You have people here who don't even know the difference between SS crude account and all these technical terms. No, we have to change that. If that is the only thing that the constitutional amendment will achieve, let it achieve it. to say if you don't have a certain level of competence and understanding, it doesn't matter where you come from, you cannot be president of Nigeria, because we're looking for intelligent people to run this country, just as we are looking for intelligent people to run other sections of this society. I rest my case. Anybody can argue with that.
All right. What is absolutely undoubtedly clear is that in the past couple of days, we're starting to see some of the policy directions and positions of the ADC begin to unfold and unravel. We're seeing this in this conversation around throwing the presidency open. Now, some had done an analysis and put the permutations together and said that, well, if you have an ex-PDP national chairman or interim national chairman, and you have an APC or ex-APC, whatever you'd like to categorize it as, national secretary, that's Ralph Aregbesola, then it's clear that the committee that will put together the primaries is going to lean towards an APC PDP ticket. So some might say that no, they are going to leave behind all past allegiances. However, the body language seems to read that that's where the dominant factor lies at the moment. Who the candidates will be, of course, is still a thing of debate. But when you look at the permutations and just the balance of power as it stands in that coalition at the moment, the PDP or the ex-PDP representatives and the APC representatives hold the power and the trump cards as to how primaries will be conducted and who is likely to emerge a presidential candidate. I think it's important for the coalition to continue to build and develop. So I think it was good to ask those front runners to just hold off on declaring any ambitions for now. But I think the people will be less patient and will be itching to see who the front runner will be. Some of the other developments that we've seen from the ADC in the past couple of days and hours are also some commentary on foreign policy that I just want to highlight because, of course, they've spoken widely and at length through Malam Bolaji Abubakar about the fact that Nigeria is not included in the meeting that Donald Trump will be holding with some African countries starting from today in Washington, D.C. And, of course, by now we all know that the reason that some countries were not included is because they chose to partake in BRICS. The dates would have clashed and so forth. So those who attended BRICS were not invited to the meeting with Donald Trump. But there was a statement that Nigeria being part of BRICS is punching below her weight, which I feel was a bit of a colonial outlook because BRICS represents over 40% of global GDP, over 50% of global GDP growth, and almost half of the world's population. It's a conversation about the global South coming together in light of shifting geopolitics to see how we can have an alternate solution to this global world order that has not served us so well. So for ADC to come out and discount and dismiss Nigeria's relationship with BRICS is a question mark about what their foreign policy direction will be should they be in office. And I think that's something that Nigerians need to consider, whether they want a Nigeria that looks down or frowns upon global South relationships and prioritizes relationships with the West. Well, I throw that out there for those, for people viewing to be able to analyze that. Now let's move to the article from Bloomberg titled, Naira decouples from oil as confidence in Nigerian reforms grows. I think context is always important. We need to remember that we're currently running a managed floating currency. What does that mean? It means that the management, the CBN manages the system when it deems fit. Just as recently as April, the CBN injected $197.71 million into the foreign currency to ease pressure. That was when oil fell just below $66 and when some of the impact of the tariffs started showing themselves in global markets. So for us to say we've decoupled from oil, I think is premature. I think it is important for us to continue to highlight that there is Naira stability and that we're well on our way. But to say we've decoupled from the one product that brings in the majority of our export revenue and that dominates the revenue that we use for government expenditure, I think is a fallacy. So I think it's just important as we remain optimistic and report optimistically on the fact that the Naira has been stable and yes, we're able to now use our Naira cards internationally, and there's more confidence in the currency. We also have to be careful of making big, bold statements that steer away from the accuracy of the economics of it. Because for now, we are not decoupled from oil. We are managing our way through to stability.